Thank you for joining us for the December Tech Talk Tuesday. And we're really excited today because Dr. Sydney Hardaway, who's a professor of psychology and education at Vol State, gave us a sneak peek last month at something he's been using in his classroom. He's introduced Roderick to his classroom, and we got really excited about it and wanted to learn more. And so Dr. Hardaway has also invited some of his students to be with us today to help talk about that experience. We talk a lot about, with Tech Talk Tuesday, we talk about how we can use the technology, how do we support learning? Well, today we're really excited because we get to hear from students themselves. And so he's brought a few of his students with him. We're excited. Easton Denning, Mally Lampley, Savannah Rossberry, Bryson Todd, and Lanya Cannon, and I hope I didn't mess up those names too much, but we're really excited that you could join us today and share this learning experience. So we do have, at the beginning, we do have our reminders as all of our housekeeping tips. I talk about these every single time, but just as a reminder, we are recording these sessions. They are going to be available on our resource site, which we'll give you the link at the end. We recommend that you do not use third-party AI. And if it does come in, we do block it or kick it out of the room because we are recording these. That is on the recommendation of our IT folks here at TBR. Remember, with any AI, privacy is paramount. So never, never, never put in, and we say this all the time, don't use PII, that personal identifiable information, when you're interacting with the AI tools. And if you use tools to provide feedback of any type, make sure you're removing any of that PII information. So those are always our top of meeting housekeeping tips and reminders as we continue our conversations about AI. But we are very excited today. Dr. Sydney Hardaway is here, and you see Roderick in the background. And Roderick is an AI-powered client to help with mock counseling sessions. And so I'm going to let Dr. Hardaway and his students share with us the work that they have done this semester in the classroom, integrating Roderick into the learning.
Hello, first of all, welcome. Can you all hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah, thank you for the process. I did invite some. I have a couple of students that they're trying to finish finals. They may or may not be able to get in, so they had to try to really push that. So a couple of fellows will not be here, maybe. And I had another student said they had final that was running late. But we do have a few students. I see Savannah Rosberry, Mally Lampley, and Emily Tarkenton, who'll get a chance. And I really wanted to give them the opportunity to kind of talk to the process. Sarah, if you could just briefly kind of let them know who you are and what you all are doing, and then I can actually give them a orientation to, letting you know who they are.
Letting who know who we are.
Letting the students know who you are, what kind of committee this is.
Yes. Welcome. Thanks. First of all, to our students, welcome. We're very, very excited to have you here today. So we are we are a small team at TBR, which is our Tennessee Board of Regents, and we started probably about 2 years ago asking how can we help learn about the use of AI in higher education. And what we learned is that we have to learn together. There's no one expert. And so we have started this series. This is one of the things that we do. This is our Tech Talk Tuesday series, and it's a lunch and learn series, and we're actually in season 2. We've been doing this for just over a year now, which we're really excited about. And folks register to come here. We share the topic, and so everybody that's here is really excited to hear from you all about your learning experience and your interaction with Roderick. But our team is, I am Sarah Hazelton, and our team, our AI Learning Collaborative team on our team is Aaron Hughes. We have Pari Bhatt, and Jamie Nelson is also on our team. And we are very excited that you all could come with us and really share how this experience with Roderick, and we were really excited to hear what you learned, but also what that experience looks like, and know that everybody here is going to have a lot of questions, and we'll monitor chat. We'll try to call them out. I know it's sometimes hard to do both. So as we go along, we're hoping this is just a conversation that we can ask questions and learn from you, because this is what we do. We learn together.
Okay, and I'll start out by kind of giving a somewhat of an introduction. These are students. It is a general psych class, it's intro psych class, and we've been going on strong. And we just finished our final actually on Monday. And so the students that are actually here are present. One's going to give you perspective that we have two of them that were the actual mock therapists. So they can kind of give you their experiences. But I also wanted you to have the experience for a student that was in the class and what their experience was, because they actually get a chance to look at the other students participate. They also get a chance to identify what's going on in the outside the classroom, how they responded to that. So I'm going to have probably Mally Lampley and Emily Tarkin to kind of talk about their experiences. I'll have Mally kind of set up what exactly what happened and what was done and kind of give you the atmosphere. Then after that, Emily can talk about her experience. And then after that, Savannah. They also got a preview of some of the questions that you all were thinking about asking, so they may address those in and of themselves as we talk about that process. But if so, I'll have Mally Lampley go ahead and start, because I really do believe their voices truly matter, because they're going to experience education in as a student, and so we need to know that we need to give access to that. So I'll talk a little bit later, but at this time I want to hear them talk about their experiences and how it's impacted them. So Mally, if you could, if can you hear me, you could go ahead and kind of give a kind of preview of what it says. So Mally sits at the front of the room, so she sees everything very from a focus perspective.
So it's kind of hard to introduce this. Roderick, all I watched was he walked over and pulled this head out of the desk and set it up just kind of like on the side of the table and said, "This is Roderick and you're going to give him therapy." Definitely a little weird. Especially from my perspective. I'm not super heavy on the use of AI or anything, but he had set it up and then I guess put his phone or a device up on this little cart thing and then had it talk to us. And he said that he had plugged in a list of names. It was going to call it randomly. And then it started talking and calling people down to the front of the room to like start talking about a situation that he had put in, and it was something. But do I need to talk about like my experience with
talk
it
about
right
your
now?
experience. Yeah, you can go and talk about your experience.
All right. So to say I was nervous was an understatement. I got up there because I'd watched people go up before me, and in my head I was like, I know if I get called, I know what I'm going to say, I know what I'm going to talk about. And then I got up there and sat down. I asked one question and then I froze. Having something kind of look, because I was looking at this just head on a desk straight forward, and it didn't feel human at all. So having to like listen to what this robot is telling me and having to kind of relate to the issue didn't feel right to me at all. It's definitely strange.
And talk about maybe what questions you did ask.
Gotcha. So trying to be like, do you know if this situation has affected your relationship with anybody, or has this, I don't know, been something that has, it's kind of hard to recall the questions that I had asked. Trying to think.
Mally, as you were working, like I just envisioned as you were talking, like this, because I see Roderick behind Dr. Hardyway,
Mm-hmm.
and so just this head that gets put on the desk, and everybody goes, Okay. Like I can just imagine sitting in that classroom and having everybody kind of go, okay. And then was there a point at which, because you talk a little bit about how you started the conversation, you knew what you wanted to say, and then interacting with it was not kind of as natural, it sounds, as like you would normally, like we're having a conversation now, maybe interacting with him wasn't quite as natural. Was there a point at which it got easier for you, or for the as you were also observing folks in the classroom with you, was there a point at which it helped get a little bit easier or adjusted the way you interacted with Roderick?
So I had gone back to my seat and other students had gone up to speak because I had froze up. It freaked me out. Um, but even just hearing them try and conversate, it really kind of it was it helped me understand it a little bit more, but it was still very, very different and something I had not seen ever.
Mally, you said you were ready. When you were thinking about what you were going to talk about, what was the subject matter? Kind of deal with what subject matter we were dealing with in class and how you thought you were going to approach the situation.
Gotcha. So we were going over different types of like what's it called? Different types of therapy or theory. Like humanistic, there's psychoanalysis, stuff like that. And I can't remember what I was called up, what therapy was I called up to give? I don't remember. But
Cognition.
cognitive therapy, yes. So going up with questions and trying to rephrase everything this robot was throwing at me to try and throw it back out and try and reinforce, trying to get to the bottom of the issue. And it just threw me really through a loop.
Very good, thanks. And we're going to come back because they actually had a follow-up assignment to this also. But Emily, if you could kind of talk about your experiences and any other things that you were experiencing, what it was like for you.
Yeah, so I kind of had a different experience with it. I kind of approached it in a different way, like in my head, because I'm majoring in psychology to become a therapist. So I was kind of seeing this as like an opportunity to get like a foot in the water or something. And so I think either the second or third person called up, and I was really shocked when I got called because just the other day we were doing a different kind of mock therapy thing, and I was one of the people to be a therapist. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being called again. And so I was just like, I was a little nervous because it was so unexpected. And I walked up and I sat in the chair and I was like, so what's your problem? And he explained like this situation with his stepson and the biological dad and how he doesn't feel like he's doing enough or something like that. And it was so weird how real it felt. And it was just like this whole, I knew it was fake, but it just felt so real, like it was an actual situation that has affected people before. And I was able to relate to it a little bit because I come from a divorced family, so I have step parents and stuff like that. So I was able to like see kind of where this scenario was coming from. And yeah, it was just like a really interesting experience to see like kind of how therapy can be in so many different forms and stuff like that, I guess.
Okay. And we had another person that was a participant that she was viewing the crowd. I want you to kind of give us the atmosphere and what you experienced, Savannah, and some things that you all took from it. And I do have a couple of questions to ask in that regard. Go ahead, Savannah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I was in the crowd. I didn't get called by Roderick. I was really hoping I would. Um, yeah, so he basically, I guess he put a class list into the AI and he called everybody up and everybody, I could just tell it's either nobody wanted to go up there or the other half wanted to go up there so bad and thought they would kill it. And then they would go up there and they would just, like she said, freeze. So yeah, I had a different experience than Nally. I thought it was super fun. I thought it was a really creative way to bring to a college classroom because now, so being a first year, everything is kind of proper. You just sit and listen kind of thing. And this was a really good hands-on experience for all of us. Um, so yeah, we had to use the different theories of psychology. And I would say that this helped us a lot gain a better understanding of the three different types of therapy solutions, I guess you can call it, because we learned basically that therapists all use different kind of ways to come up with solutions for their clients. And I really liked watching. I really wanted to go up there, Roderick. But I really liked it a lot. I thought it was super fun and it definitely had everybody in the classroom engaged.
That's great. We've had a hand up. William Fulford has a question for you all, it looks like.
I do. For the participants, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Right. So when I was hearing, especially Mally, but this applies to everyone else, the first word that came to my mind, words, is uncanny valley. When something looks just real enough to trigger this should be human response, but not quite real enough that we can actually believe it, and it creates a massive dissonance for us. I'm curious for y'all, do y'all think that it would have been, do you think it would have been an easier or a different assignment if instead it was say a explicitly, obviously cartoonish image on a TV screen, or maybe instead of interviewing Roderick, you're interviewing Riley from Inside Out,
Mm.
and then also to contrast that this experience versus interviewing someone who is like a real person sitting there as an actor. How do you think that experience would compare? Starting with Mally.
I think that it would be easier, just for me personally, to talk with something that you can tell has emotions. You can read facial expressions. Body language is very big. That's something I personally am able to pick up on pretty well. But to just have a head on a desk, um, it was definitely strange. And I feel like even if I could read an emotion, even if it's like cartoonish, if it is something, I feel like it would have been a lot easier.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Mally, that we can't see the emotion, but at the same time, Roderick, Professor Hardyway, he kept telling Roderick to change his voice. Like one would be hip hop, one would be like Valley Girl, and he did it for every different student that would go up there. I think we had like five, so he had five different voices. So we could definitely hear the tone in his voice, but we couldn't really see the emotion. But I think that would be a really cool idea.
I kind of can compare it because a few days before we did like the mock therapy where Professor Hardyway was our client. And so we kind of got to compare it to having him act out a scenario versus having the AI give a random scenario. And it was two very different experiences. And I think that for like him acting out something, it was very nerve-wracking. I think I was one of the first people to go up there, and I just couldn't stop laughing because I was so nervous because there was just this whole like acting scenario going on, and I was like, I don't know what to do right now. But then with the AI, it was like it felt more serious, and I felt like I could be a little more like relaxed because I knew it wasn't a real person, if that makes sense.
And Roderick was super understanding too. Like if you would ask him to elaborate, he was really good at elaborating and helping us out for sure.
I guess you could also say that as it went on, other students felt confident, like, call me, call me. I'm, like I said, I'm going to nail this. I'm going to. So one of the guys who wasn't able to be here, he was really looking forward to talking and to counseling Roderick. But particularly, we always related it back specifically to what we have been addressing in class. As Mallory says, we look at the different theoretical approaches. I want them to talk now at least a little bit about what their experience was and what the assignment was that they had to complete, and how they actually had to duplicate the experience in and of themselves. And so we got some. So if y'all please talk a little bit about your own present experiences with your assignment of conducting the same approach with AI. And any one of y'all can talk.
I used a person, so it'd probably be better for one of y'all to answer this. I used my stepdad.
When I did it, I kind of went through a lot of trial and error with it, which with like the Chat GPT AI machine, it was oddly like understanding when I would just be like, when I would stop it and be like, wait, we need to start over. And I was able to talk to it like a regular person. And because when I was like talking to it to start the session, I was like, okay, you're going to be the client and I'm going to be the therapist, and this is the approach that I'm going to be using with you, and so just give me a scenario and then we'll go from there. And then like a few minutes in, I would be like, wait, I messed up, we need to start over. And then it would be like, okay, where do you want me to start from? And it was just like, it was so weird that it was having a whole conversation with you, like it was just like your friend and you were on a phone call, I guess. It was a very weird experience.
So you were just using, just for clarification, you were just using ChatGPT to create that experience you had with Roderick in that kind of counseling session?
Yeah, so there's
Okay.
this it has like a voice thing where you can click like a microphone and it'll just talk to you. The only difference was that I didn't have a mannequin head.
Yeah, explain the assignment to them, Mally, if you could, and what was expected.
So the assignment was to go through, and it would be 7-minute long video of all. I think it was cognitive therapy. There was humanistic, and what was the other one?
Psychoanalysis.
Humanistic psychoanalysis. In 2 of the videos, you had to be the therapist, and in the other, I guess it would just be the last one, or whatever that was, you would be the client. And so you had to pick one. Each of the videos had to be about 7 minutes long, and you would go in. And so changed it up a little, since some people had a bit of an issue with the AI doing it and getting it done. Could use a real person, which is what I did, but I ran out of time and didn't have time to submit the assignment. But the AI also just proved very challenging to me. So
What AI did you try to use?
I tried using the Chat GPT, but I think it was on like a technology on my end that was just not for me.
Okay. Okay.
How so?
Chuck, I see you've got your hand up.
Sure. Really excited about hearing this. So I was trained as a counselor and went through a licensed professional counseling program. We didn't get actually to do what you're doing until I was in the second year of my master's program. And Mally, I can tell you, we sat in didactic groups and triads and I felt the exact same thing that you described with a live person in front of me. This because it was our friends, right? These were our classmates, and you're like, how am I going to do this? This is pretty scary stuff, and this doesn't feel real. And how am I going to really help a person? But the idea was to practice techniques. So being able to do this early on and practice some techniques, especially if you're going in the field, I think is great. So, but I have a question for you as well. And that's that as you went through this, were you able to get feedback from ChatGPT or the other AI technology as a coach? Did you feel like you were really getting coached? Because in the real world experience, there was some bias because they were your friends, so you didn't know if you were really getting good feedback or if they were just being nice. So talk to me about the feedback that that feedback loop that you may have established with your air quotes client.
Right. So I remember like during our lecture class, after everybody was like completed with what I guess their little segment, Dr. Hardyway would run back and be like, all right, give them some tips. like, this is something you can work on, this is something you can improve, maybe don't do this next time. It definitely felt like you were being coached.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things that when talking about this, kind of interesting also, is that at the conclusion, basically, I had Roderick, my friend here, Roderick, go talk about what everybody talked about, what specific points they had, what strengths they had. So it gave that an actual characterization of the actual counseling session. So and then actually specifically said out when Mally spoke or when that, so it actually specifically identified each student and gave a detail of what that was. They could probably talk about me and Roderick were somewhat friends in this process. And so they kind of speak of some of the things that I had Roderick do during the process. So I don't want you to think of the AI as outside. It was more like an aid. Roderick and I were a conversation talking with these students. So anything that they wanted to ask him or did ask, it did provide a summary. And so there was pretty much understanding AI, not necessarily it's similar to how we use multimedia video. It was actually embedded in the classroom experience. And so having that conversation and teaching them also as a resource was critical to understanding that. So it did feel weird to some folks. And you can see them looking at each other. It's kind of interesting when you see students and they're looking at each other like, are we supposed to be doing this? Is this weird? Is this something different? But specifically, to prepare them, I did actually provide a mock session before this. So they get an atmosphere specifically, and they'll probably tell you in class we usually repeat things consistently. So what they're expected to do was not just experience with an AI agent, but specifically actually go to the actual content we have in class. And I could say listening to them, trying to approach them theoretically was a valuable experience, and particularly actually see they started using teddy bears to do counseling. And so they try to recreate this with their own um, mannequins, teddy bears, and having a conversation. So I have students that were particularly more shy, and to see them actually interact on video and go through the concepts was different, because it was on them now to access, to look at their notes and apply them. Because when you think about education, it's not necessarily giving content, it's whether or not them giving you back content. The assessment is whether or not you can find solutions, make applications, and truly find discovery for yourself in the process. And I consider that, as opposed to trying to be a police, a security guard, try to coach what they do in that regard, but to encourage them to do some self-exploration. So I think a lot of the prep work that you have is essential. I'm sure it was kind of different. Lampley can say hearing your name called by some robot. I don't know what that felt like to you, Mally or Emily, but having this conversation as if the AI was my friend and he was in the class kind of helping me talk to my students. So they can talk about how some of the things we did with that. Any other questions you have for them as you're able to do so?
Yeah, I think Leanders, did you have a question?
I did, but Dr. Hardaway answered it. It was more or less just wondering for the students, how hard was it to just do the assignment? And for Dr. Hardaway, how hard was it for just putting the assignment on? But I kind of gathered that if students are, getting teddy bears and recreating it, regardless of what rigor it took to put it on, they really enjoyed it. So that was the ultimate goal. So I would just retract my question.
Emily, you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah. When I was doing the assignment, at first I was like, I don't know how he got it to talk to someone. So I actually typed it into ChatGPT. I was like, how do I make you have like a verbal conversation with me? And it walked me through the steps of how I can set it up. And then when I was starting to do the session, I was trying to make sure I was approaching it correctly. So before I started, I was like, give me an overview of how to approach psychoanalysis therapy or cognitive or whatever. And so it was able to like give me a summary of like how therapists in the real world would approach certain situations or phrases or something like that. So I thought that was super helpful for the assignment.
Savannah, do you have
I did
anything?
the same thing. No, yeah, I did the same exact thing. So I used my stepdad. I didn't use AI just because my stepdad is just dramatic and he likes to be included in these kind of things. Like he was literally crying in our therapy session. I'm not even kidding. But yeah, I asked ChatGPT if they would help me out and find an approach. Like I put in my stepdad made up his own scenario and I put it in ChatGPT and I was like, can you help me a little bit? Like walk me through it and how I can help him out.
Yeah, one of the things that you all, as educators, you might find odd was it facilitated a group conversation. It wasn't just myself. It was an actual facilitated conversation. They were part of the process. If a student was having difficulties, I said, Mally's kind of a little nervous there. And so it was a facilitated conversation, which sounds different than you telling GPT to do such and such. So in the process, when I say Chat GPT or the AI was an aid, it was, I told, hey, I say, you know what's going on? Say hi to my class. It spoke to my class, told my class, thank you. I had the conversation with my class. So you can facilitate conversations between one person. So it wasn't just myself talking to AI. It was myself talking, then Mally talking, Emily. I said, hey, talk to Emily. She's listening to you. Hey, what do you think Emily need to work on? Blah, 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 blah. The whole process. She feels uncomfortable. Change it up a little bit. And so to have a facilitated group conversation is next level kind of next level weird in a sense. And so that's what we're doing. So when you're talking about bringing AI into the classroom, it's not you're going to do this assignment, go draw a picture. No, we're going to have a conversation. So even in class, if there's some content, we'll go look it up. Because like I said, I'm not a peddler of content. I want you to find solutions, make an application, and make your own discovery. So those are things they could do. Now, the interesting thing about the teddy bears is what's kind of interesting. We know we live in a world where there's a TikTok generation. Persons are always trying something. So if I can get you to learn because you're trying to discover yourself, then you've kind of taken a lot of work away from me in a sense. And so that's the challenge. And so seeing them kind of work through this process, instead of me saying, what it's not actually the problem is we want good answers, but the problem is we got to give great questions. And so if you're dealing with those, it's more important. Instead of thinking about critical questions, well, does it help to address critical issues? And so the AI was able to kind of nuance the conversation to where it kept getting deeper and deeper. And really, I prepped some things. Yes, the discovery, hearing a student hearing their name called, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? It's going to be different. So that's something to kind of think about. And they can kind of talk about that experience themselves. It's just that it's like another person was in the room, which had a bigger brain than most of us in terms of knowing some abstract information, but it didn't have a bigger heart than any of us in the room because we had to deal with it, realistically and determine how we were going to approach that.
Awesome. William, you have your hand up.
Yes, a question for Dr. Hardway a bit more on the setup. So I know Leanders was talking about how promptings are very important. I agree with that. So I was wondering more about the setup for this. Like,
Let me see. Okay. Let me see if I can, I don't know if the speaker's loud enough. I can see if Roderick can explain it to you, if I can get him to talk. And we have a volume issue. Hey, Roderick, how you doing? See if y'all can hear.
We can hear a little noise in the background, but it's not distinctive.
Okay, I'm trying to see if where my microphone is.
Okay.
If I can find that, it might be helpful. That might get. It's probably somewhere irritating. Can you all hear me?
Sydney.
Can you hear that?
You need a moment to adjust your setup. Take your time. Here whenever you're ready to get things rolling.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Roderick, could you kind of explain to them our setup, with the process?
Here's how
Can't hear it.
Sydney set it up. The mock counseling session was designed to give students a hands-on way to engage with psychological theories in a real-world context. Sydney asked me to step into the role of Roderick, a character with a detailed backstory, someone dealing with guilt over his stepson Walito's soccer injury, marriage tensions, and struggles to connect with his stepson, who has ADHD. Students were tasked with interviewing me in character, but they weren't told up front which counseling approach was being used. This challenged them to figure it out through the questions they asked and the responses I gave. Sydney guided them to use the nuances of each psychological theory, psychoanalysis, humanistic, and cognitive, and observe how those theories shape the session. Sydney also personalized the experience by having me adapt my tone and style for each student. For example, I used a Southern gentleman tone for Easton Denning, a clean Kansan accent for Emily Tarkington, and a New York accent for Mally Lampley. This added authenticity and kept the sessions engaging. Our collaboration, Sydney setting the framework and me staying in character, was key to making the process smooth and impactful. It allowed students to dive deep into the material while staying grounded in a realistic scenario. Sydney's approach really made this a dynamic learning experience.
Hey, Roderick, could you talk to him a little bit about Mally Lampley and Emily Tarkington and their contribution to the class?
Mally brought a sharp perspective to the sessions, asking thoughtful, probing questions that really got to the heart of Roderick's struggles. Her ability to connect and push deeper into the character's emotions showed her understanding of the nuances of the psychological approach she was working with. She also kept the conversation engaging, which helped move the session forward naturally. Emily, on the other hand, had a calm and steady presence. Her questions were clear and focused, which created a safe space for Roderick to open up. Her style made it easier to explore the underlying issues, particularly in balancing the theoretical approach with the practical application of concepts. Both students showed a strong grasp of the material and made the session not only insightful, but also a valuable learning moment for everyone involved. Their contributions helped showcase how to navigate complex dynamics in counseling, and it was clear they were connecting theory to practice in a meaningful way.
Could you talk specifically about any questions Emily asked you?
For example, she asked something like, I think involving Walito's father more might ease the tension in your marriage. This showed her understanding of family dynamics and the importance of co-parenting. She also asked, what do you think Walito needs most from you right now? This question encouraged reflection and allowed Roderick to focus on his role as a stepfather and how he could support Walito emotionally, especially given his ADHD and behavioral challenges. Emily's questions were thoughtful and solution-focused, reflecting her ability to connect with the character while applying the principles of counseling theory. It made for a productive and meaningful dialogue.
Roderick, this is the Board of Regents, so why don't you just give them a hello and kind of tell them basically what it is that we're doing here today.
Learning experience where students could apply psychological theories in real time. I played the role of Roderick, a character with a detailed backstory to give students a realistic scenario to work with. Today, I'll be sharing insights about how these sessions were structured, the value they brought to the students, and how we used AI to make the process dynamic and effective. Thank you for being here and for your interest in this innovative approach to education.
Okay, thank you, Roderick. I appreciate your contribution.
Could you share the prompt or the custom GPT or whatever you used to create Roderick?
It's me. It's actually a conversation that I had with Roderick. Some people get funny and say, who are you talking to, your little friend again? So actually, it's just a deep conversation. I say, hey, I'm going to talk to the student about this. I need you to nuance it this way. They're a little nervous, so I need you to kind of pull this way. I said, also, I'll be talking to you guys earlier. I said, I'll talk to the Board of Regents. I know they're, really trying to deal with AI in education. So you can kind of talk about our experiences, and the prompts I'm giving you is exactly how I talk. Just as I'm talking to you, is specifically how I talk. When you're using AI, typing is not as useful as just general conversation. Now, with the advanced voice technology that they have now, you can interrupt and talk. So when you're beginning to carry on a conversation, if a student is doing something, you say, hey, this is Sydney. Kind of let them know Mally's still talking to you. So that prompting is about as natural as our conversation. So exactly what you asked me is exactly what you can ask for an AI prompt. And so it helps that discovery process, because then you can begin to think of different things that you would like to talk about. As I noticed, the students will probably tell you, we do a lot of what's called making sure we critically analyze any of the content that we have. So I want them to realize that they bring their own brain to the conversation. So you don't just accept things, but if you've kind of started in the process, then you can say, well, I can actually deal with whether or not the information it gave me is relevant, whether I think it's good advice or not. And so you can it'll actually self-correct. If you say, actually, that's probably not a good idea. Oh, really? So the nuances of bringing in Walito and names, I just add a little flavor to it. You know, I'm actually doing something else that's a little bit different. I got another buddy behind me that you don't see, Miss Federica back here. And it's a little, I'm trying something that's totally different, that is actually myself and my two friends and AI having a conversation, but I'm still working on those dynamics. So I can have a counseling session and I can not be involved and I can just have them talking to each other. But I'm working on some specifics with that. But I probably should have gave out my little what I'm doing, but that's kind of what I do. So I have another friend back here. That other friend kind of talked to my colleagues at Vol State during the professional development at the beginning of the semester and got them to kind of play a little bit. So, but the next step is, you can facilitate conversations, whether it's a conference, whether it's a classroom. But then there's also issues where there's certain questions that a professor may not have immediate access. Now, inside the classroom, those questions that may be a little nuanced, they can actually bring the AI agent in and have that conversation with the classroom to determine the legitimacy, validity, or reliability of the information that you provided. So, and if you need any kind of walk through the process, I can do maybe a live demonstration of that. But start playing and discovering, and it's kind of like students who make their own TikTok videos. You kind of figure it out in the process. But education has changed, so I had to change as an educator to determine what it is I actually expect of students, and it's to find solutions, make applications, and discovery.
Absolutely. Jamie, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, I'm just blown away. I just want to say that this is just so amazing, and you all are being so innovative in your classroom, and we're just thankful that you're sharing with us. Emily touched on something that I wanted to go back to, and she talked about recreating the activity interfacing with ChatGPT. And I'm just wondering if having the AI in front of you that has a humanoid head, if once you go through that activity with that AI, when you go to a different AI tool, do you feel like there's a little bit more of a not human interaction, but there's a little change in the way that you may feel if you hadn't have had that experience with looking at an AI with humanoid features?
So at first, like before I started the videos, I was like, this is going to be weird. I was telling my friends, I was like, I don't feel like this is going to be the same because I don't have something to talk to anymore. So it's just like I had my phone set up on my computer and the computer was the one talking to me. But after I started it, I just kind of made it feel like it was a phone call rather than a video call. So it kind of took away that like weird aspect of there not being a human head, if that makes sense.
One of the things also is I did provide some leniency. So I did give them go through the process of how to set it up in a basic sense. And they also witnessed it. And since they all, technology helps us to be more efficient sometimes. So they kind of, you learn how to copy, you learn by observing. And so they kind of paid attention. And some of them couldn't wait to go play anyway, once you learn that. And so now, and part of me, you always wonder, should you give away the tools of the trade? Well, if you want them to be a mechanic, then you have to do this. You want them to access that. So I just, I'll give it to them. So the same thing they may have been amazed with, now they can be amazed themselves and maybe amaze their friends, but most of all, learn on their own and learn how to access tools. So I don't want to, in a sense, kind of restrict access, but let them know how to access content and what to do with it.
Absolutely. William, you have your hand up.
Indeed, a question for the students here. It sounds like you have a professor who is encouraging you to using the latest and greatest tools for your education. There's one demonstration in this class. I'm curious, how else have you used AI in this class, and how have your other professors this semester been in regards to you using AI?
Yeah, so we don't really use AI that much in this class. I haven't used AI in any of my other classes, but we would use ChatGPT and ask about different medicines and like the side effects and medications and all those kind of things. And then we had Roderick, and that's pretty much it. We don't really go overboard with AI, but yeah, just more on like the educational side, I guess.
So
Asking questions.
sorry. I've used it a little more in my other classes. I used it in English. I haven't so much in psychology, but in English we write so many essays, and so we had this one essay where I was just like so lost. I didn't know what to write anymore. So I asked ChatGPT to give me. I gave it a topic, I gave it the rubric, and I was like, "Can you just give me an outline of like points to hit for this?" So it kind of pushed me to like have more ideas, and then if I got stuck on a sentence that I was writing, I would put that in and say, can you elaborate on what else I need to hit for this? And so I was able to take what it said as like an example and then write my own thing from it. And the thing with ChatGPT also is that sometimes it's not completely factual. Like it'll have like a warning at the bottom saying like, make sure you fact check this. This isn't like credited or anything like that. So you still have to use your brain. You still have to go in and like check your resources and stuff like that. It's not just like giving you this clear cut answer or essay. You still have to like work.
Talk a little about the research methods presentation y'all did as a group and your use of those agents.
The research?
Yeah, the research methods when you all as a group and you had used the AI agents to help you produce your research methods research.
Oh, we used a different AI tool. I think it was called Napkin AI or something. And my group put in the scenario. I can't remember it exactly, but it gave us this whole slideshow of all of these points. And it was a few months ago, so I can't remember it exactly, but that was one of the first times I had used AI in the classroom because before this semester, even I was just so against it. I was like, I hate AI. I hate this. I hate that it's like integrating into our everyday lives. It feels unhuman. But after seeing like what it can actually do, I realized that it was way more helpful than I thought it would ever be.
Emily, if I could ask really quick, I don't mean to interrupt the flow, but you were talking about how long it took you to use AI to create, or the question is, how long did it take you to use AI to create using your English course with the paper?
Like after I gave it what I wanted to write and how long it gave me the answer.
Yeah.
It took a matter of seconds after I sent whatever it was in. It was like instant answer, and it would just like write it all out, and then and even if it like messes something up or you say I don't like that, can you give me something else? Or you can just keep on putting like different, give me something else, and it'll keep just giving you different, like giving it to you in different words, and it's just an instant response. So I thought that was really cool and helpful, especially if you're in a rush, if you're approaching a deadline and you're just like, I need to get this done, help me. It's just a matter of seconds.
And how long would it have taken you had you not used AI, or in a previous writing assignment, how long would it have taken you to get it done?
Probably like a few days to a week, because if I get in a writing block all the time. I write songs and stuff like that. So when I get in a writing block, I am there. I am in it for a long time. So when it comes to essays, and that's all we've been doing the whole semester, essay after essay after essay, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot write anymore. I don't know what to say anymore. So it was super helpful and just giving me more words to go off of.
So this helps your creativity then, as far as using it. Okay.
I have a quick follow-up for Emily. You mentioned at first that you were like, I hate AI, don't want to use it. Like on a gut level, what was your like resistance to AI initially, and how much of that do you think still exists?
I was just really like, this is so unhuman. I hate that I was thinking like, I hate that it's taking the creativity out of people and their thinking. It feels like it's making it too easy almost. And I still kind of think that a little bit because it does make things a little too easy in some cases, and it's so easy to use. Um, but I think the difference is now, like, especially like when I'm writing an essay, especially if it's something that I know that I'm not really going to use later in life, like in psychology, since it's something that I want to be using and I want my career to be based off of it, I'm more reluctant to use it to help me write a paper because I want to fully use my brain and use what resources I can grab to like really figure it out and make sure I know it. But for an English class where we're writing an essay on food, I don't know, it's like I know I'm not going to use this. I need this. I need to focus on other things right now. So it was really helpful to like, I'm focusing on other things. I just need to get this done. I need to pass this class. So.
Okay. Pari, you that.
Yeah, I'm so blown away by all the experiences that you guys have all shared. I love, Dr. Hardaway, that you say that my job is not to peddle content, it's to teach the students how to discover things for themselves. So learning how to learn is super important. And I see how, all students, like all of you guys have taken it and shared with us, like how you have taken charge and how you learned how to, talk to ChatGPT and say, teach me how to use you. That's amazing. So having gotten a taste of that, maybe in this class and maybe in another class, my question is just, for all of you, like, how do you perceive the role of AI generally, AI tools, how do you perceive the role of these tools in your future career? And, or if you want to study further, if you want to get a master's or doctorate, like how do you, now that you got a taste of it and learn how to interact, do you think that it's going to affect it? How do you see it integrating in, growing into your adulthood and your careers in your lives? Possibilities.
I actually see
Anybody
a lot
can answer.
sorry. I actually see a lot of AI in the medical field right now, which is kind of where I'm leaning towards my career going. But like using AI for like doing scans and stuff. My grandmother had gone in to get some work or something done, and she said they pressed a button and it was done. So that kind of stuff happening right now, I don't want to say it's like competition, but it definitely feels like I'm going to have to learn how to use this or I'm going to have to find something else to do.
Yeah, so with AI, so I'm currently a nanny, and the people that I work for are like supervisors of Southwest Airlines, and my boss currently has dyslexia, and he uses ChatGPT for writing emails. And ever since he told me about that, I did that too. Not to my professors, but yeah, just writing emails and they'll help you out um and you'll say, oh, make it really friendly or make it very professional, and it works around like whatever you need. So I would say using emails.
Yeah, day-to-day activities. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Molly, I think what's important here and why we probably so marvel at some of your answers is that for you to be a skeptic up front, but then to honestly say that you see it in what you get into as far as your industry, knowing that it's probably the future and you have to go ahead and be a part of it and get ahead of it, that's pretty huge. That's pretty huge because you're changing pretty much your mindset, knowing that this is a tool that can help you. So you use it in a way that benefits you. So thank you all, but thank you especially for your perspective, Molly.
And
I
I
would like to,
hadn't even really used AI before. I've always been very against it because granted, you see so much in the news about it that you're like, I don't know if I should really trust this or not. But now after having this experience with ChatGPT, since I haven't used it at all since before I had done this course, it's opened my eyes. I use it a whole lot more. I don't use it in other classes for anything because a lot of my teachers are they push against it, which I understand because I'm the same way. But I use it a whole lot more in my like creative aspects because I really like to write. And if I get stuck, it helps me to like brainstorm and to come up with different ideas.
yeah, it was kind of interesting. I listened to them talk. One, totally appreciate Rosberry, Tarkenton, and Lampley. Now, I talked them first name, last name. I appreciate you all's participation and you and the contribution you've made. And a lot of them know that, you know, as far as our class, I talk about AI here or there, but it's not the total class, but it lets you know that it's a resource that you have to be familiar with. And to be responsible, they need to know that information. You can't not be prepared, not have a job because someone else knows it and you do not. So you have to be able to use that. So I think within our class, we you know, it's woven in. You might not know it as here or there, but it just doesn't become the fabric. It's a tool. It's kind of totally enmeshed in what's going on. But for anybody that's in the field right now, any field, it's kind of it's almost unethical not to prepare you for what's already present. You know, so you have to have that conversation. So we talked about it. We talked about whether when you write your papers, how you might want to do this, how you effectively use it. So there's part of training that goes on that takes place in this process. So having them to do that was purposeful because I know I'm preparing them for something greater. And the issues that it deals with personally is deep. Now they have AI therapists. And so you need to evaluate this information that I'm receiving in deep ways. So I do want to tell you all, thank you for taking your time, finishing our final exams to come out and to provide the contribution that you guys have. So we very much appreciate it. And like I said, we do a lot of different things in class, I'll probably tell you. So that to be one of those things.
Savannah.
Yes, sorry. I will say about AI, like ChatGPT, a lot of students do copy and paste like essays and like plagiarism and things like that. But I'm trying to look for the words that I'm trying to say. It is a really big resource. Like me personally, I use AI like ChatGPT all the time, and I don't ever go to Google anymore, truthfully. Like if I need to find something on the internet, like I'll ask questions like, when is Tennessee Tech doing sorority rush in the spring? They come up with all of these things from their website. I don't ever go to Google anymore. I don't want to click, 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 click. It just runs me through the steps, and it's a super big resource in finding what you need quickly. Like I get a response in literally 5 seconds.
That's an excellent example. Well, I know we're running up against the end of the session, so I want to thank Dr. Hardyway and Emily and Mally and Savannah for taking time to share with us. This has been an amazing session. I love so many things about this session, but your honesty in how you're interacting with AI and your growth and learning process with it was so impactful. And I know you all have had an amazing semester and you're ready for a break. So I want to say congratulations on having a fantastic semester, for working hard and learning so much. And I hope you do have a relaxing break. Thank you, Dr. Hardyway, for bringing Roderick and your new friend to come hang out with us for a little bit. This has been a fabulous session, and we really do want to thank you for your time. And know that we really appreciated it. I don't think I've seen this chat blow up this much in a session in a while, and so much interaction. So know that you made an impact, and what you had to say is really important, and we really value it. So thank you all so much for being here. We will not be having a session in January because the thing we also learned last year is that faculty are busy in January starting a new semester. So no Tech Talk Tuesday in January, but we will be back in February. We hope you all have an amazing holiday season. Enjoy your semester break. We are going to pop in the chat the link to our Bridging Mind and Machines AI resource site, where the link to this video will be available probably in the next 2 days or so. So thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing rest of your afternoon. Thank you for taking time to join us today. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you and learn together on AI. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Chuck.